Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Sunday, June 28th, Monday, June 29th. For those of you across the pond and beyond, welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys could join us this weekend. I hope you have had an awesome weekend so far. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I just wanted to welcome you tonight to our show. You can find us live right now on Spreaker.com under We Are Paradox Media. You can find us on Twitter, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, as well as Podcast Addict. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight we will be talking to and getting to know the crew of Stalkers Paranormal. So Stalkers Paranormal is a paranormal team searching for answers and to give spirit a voice. They are based out of Mississippi, but will travel to whoever or wherever needed. They never charge and are there to offer help, advice, investigations, blessings, and cleansings. Their job is to heal your family, your homes, and even spirit. Again, they will never charge for services, and they see to it you have answers and closure. They work hard and even give you homework to follow and updates you through the process. They have also helped in missing person cases as well as open criminal cases. Lissette is their team historian, scout, and investigator who has taken demonology courses from a well-respected bishop. Her jobs are research, documentation, and finding locations, as well as scheduling private clients. She is who you will be speaking to through the process. She is caring and will always offer to pray or help with blessing. Her blue aura is contagious, and she also leads the team in prayer. Shannon is the team medium and soothsayer. Her job is to go in blind and provide you with spirit information, surround you with guides and angels of protection, lead in blessing, cleansings. Sorry, my electronics are being so weird. Cleansings, blessings, and, oh my goodness, it's skipping around. Oh my goodness. Spirit information surrounds you with guides and angels of protection and lead in blessing, cleansing, and assist in spirit crossovers. She sees, feels, and senses spirit and communicates with them throughout the process. She will provide you with homework and light work. She's also a Reiki master and can provide you, as well as your home, with healing. She is currently working on her parapsychology degree from the UK. From time to time does readings for clients as well. They recently added 2 team members, Lindie and John McIvers, as investigators to the team, and they bring a fresh pair of eyes and ears to the team. While they're not new to the paranormal field, their eagerness to learn more is amazing. Both bring such an amazing light and energy to the table. Welcome, you guys, and thanks so much for being on the show tonight.
Thank you for having us.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you guys?
We're doing good. We're a little bit exhausted because we've had a long weekend and a lot of investigating going on, but we're good. We're here.
Yeah, I just woke up from a nap. Sorry.
No worries.
Must be nice. She got a nap.
I know, right?
I'm a little upset she got to take a nap.
I passed out.
So when exactly did you guys form the team Stalkers Paranormal?
Originally, Stalkers was formed in March 2018. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. It seems like since you guys started, you guys have just been on the go, like super busy with all these different investigations and really getting out there.
We're trying to.
We've been pretty busy. We've gone through, a lot of different changes, a lot of different things going on, but we've had a lot of investigations under our belt at this point.
So you said recently you had done some investigations, and I do want to get into those, but I kind of want to get into your guys' histories. Lysette, let's start with you. Where did you first break into the paranormal? Did you have experiences as a kid that led you along this path, or did you find it later on in life?
No, as a kid, I've had like little experiences here and there. As I got older, I had even more, and it wasn't just at home. It was like places that I worked and things like that. So I was always fascinated by the concept of the paranormal and being able to see and hear and feel things that not everybody can. As an adult, I started paranormal investigating and just absolutely loved it. And it's a passion that followed me from when I lived in Florida to now I do it here in Mississippi.
So when you were a kid, did you, is that when you had your first experience? And can you tell us about your first, like, really mind-blowing experience that made you really not doubt that there was something there on the other side?
Honestly, that really first, like, mind-blowing experience came as an adult. I worked for my local sheriff's department at the county jail, and some of my coworkers always talked about this, one particular, one of the sergeants that had passed away of a heart attack at work, and, like, people would see him and whatnot, and I'm like, yeah, all right, whatever. Till one night I was working the midnight shift in the dorm that he used to supervise prior to his passing, and I was the only one in the control room. My partner had gone to take her break, and I heard a noise. It sounded like the control room door had popped, like had been buzzed open, but I was the only one in the control room to open any doors. And I knew I didn't let my partner in because she wasn't there. So I got up, and the way it was set up, it was like you had a long control room in the center, and then the housing unit, it was kind of like a fishbowl, so it was around the control center. So I got up and walked to the other end of the control center to see, like, why the other door was buzzing open. And there was nobody there, and one of the inmates was up, and she buzzed in, and she was like, "You saw him, didn't you?" And I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Sarge, he just came in the door." And I'm like, "Go back to bed. Like, it's, bedtime. Just, I don't know what you're talking about." So I go back to where I was sitting, and sure enough, our uniforms were white button-up shirts with dark green pants. And so I'm sitting there and I'm writing in the logbook, and I just happen to glance up and catch the movement of a man in our uniform, but it was quick. And then same girl again, she was like, "Haha, you did see him." I'm like, "Girl, go to bed. Like, leave me alone, And so when my partner came back, she was like, "What is wrong with you? Like, you look like you've seen a ghost." And I'm like, I did. I was like, I think Sarge was kind of tired of me, like, not believing y'all, and he made himself pretty clear to me that, yes, he still patrols our dorms and makes sure that everybody's doing what they're supposed to do. It was a really cool experience. And that was my first time of actually seeing something. I always, and as from a kid, I can always feel like energy shifts and just the energy off of people and things like that. But that was my very first experience. I was in my mid-20s. So that was my first experience of actually seeing spirit, not just feeling energy changes.
That's awesome. So when he appeared to you, did he seem like a person, or could you see through him and tell he was an apparition?
Oh, yeah, you can definitely see through. It was almost like if you're editing a photo and you kind of alter the opacity of the picture to very minimal. So he was you could make out who it was and that, what his uniform he was wearing, but it was very much see-through.
That's awesome. Shannon, same question for you. When did you first, realize that you had gifts, and can you tell us about your first experience and what led you on this path to helping others?
Sure. My first I guess, experience. I was too young really to understand I had an experience, but I had the imaginary friend back as far as I can remember. So I guess the age of 4. Her name was Chabi, and I was actually born in the Middle East, military family, and we moved to Germany. And anyways, had the imaginary friend in Germany, and later on in life, I've kind of looked the name up and found out that is actually a Middle Eastern surname. So I thought that was kind of cool because, I mean, who comes up with the name Chabi? But it kind of went from that to, I used to have green mist that floated around my bedroom. And to this day, I really don't know what the green mist were. I kind of have a feeling at this point that they were probably guides and guidance, just kind of preparing me for my journey. And I've always seen spirit, and younger, I didn't really realize what I was seeing. About the age of 23, I kind of dismissed it and pushed it away. It got scary. And then in 2013, I had a situation. I was hospitalized for about 23 days and kind of had my true awakening, so to speak. Laying in the hospital bed, I would actually have spirits come visit me. And in 2017, we actually learned that the hospital that I was staying in was actually placed on top of a mass grave that was an asylum. And when I say a mass grave, we're talking approximately 3,700 bodies were found.
That is insane.
So I used to have spirits just when I was in there come and go. And I remember coming to and picking up the phone and calling my mom and telling her that the spirits were all back. And at that point, I knew I needed to embrace my gift and kind of went full-fledged forward on learning and then taking the time to study about being a medium and communicating, and just really embraced it. It's who I am.
Yeah, it just really blows my mind how hospitals in different, neighborhoods and places like this are built on huge burial grounds, or like you said, mass graves, or moving mass graves from one place to another, moving graves from singular graves into a mass grave, and then building a park on top of it and building buildings where that had been before. It's just like, do they not expect something to happen, or do they not really care? So when you were having these people come visit you in the hospital, would they come and talk to you or just come blink at you? Or could you tell us like what was actually happening at your bedside?
They would stop in and talk to me. At first, I honestly didn't realize they were spirits. And I would just sit there and, communicate with them, talk to them, and I'm trying to figure out why these random people were coming to visit me. And then my husband came in one day and he was visiting me, and I was like, oh yeah, I had this elderly couple that came in here and they sat down and we had this nice conversation. And he's like, babe, somebody's been in here to see you. And I was like, oh yeah, sure. And I described them and told them who they were. And, it's Mr. and Mrs. Brown. And, I was like, yeah, she had a pink sweater on and green pants, and he was wearing, Birkenstocks, and we just, chatted to death. And Jason's like, nobody has been here. And he went and asked the nurse, and she's like, no. And then I had a very tall, redheaded girl that was about 6'3" that came in there and just sat down, and we chatted up. And it, I finally dawned on me, I'm like, okay, these aren't people that are coming in. And once I was able to understand what was going on, it didn't stop. So.
Your story about the 2 elderly people that came to visit that were dressed very nicely reminds me of another story that I'd probably seen on one of the mini paranormal shows that I watched to go to sleep. But they had actually come into this room where somebody was really sick. They ended up getting better, but the messages that they shared with this person were quite magnificent. Like, they shared a lot of very important information with them about, their future life and what was going to happen. And as far as your conversation with them, I think he also said that they were from overseas. Did you get any inkling of where these two were, or do you think that they were a part of that establishment before this place was built?
Honestly, I think they were probably two of the spirits that were buried under the establishment. I honestly can't recall the information because, like I said, I really just thought it was an older couple coming in to see me. So at the time, I didn't understand the significance of their visit, their visit. So I just kind of pushed it off as, okay, this nice couple just came in to say, hey, So
that's super cool. So how did you, as you're trying to build on your gift, what steps did you take to get more in tune and to focus and make it stronger?
The first step that I took, I had lost a child early on in my life, and I joined a group. Thank you. I joined a group online that is actually has a very, it's open-minded, but there's several gifted mediums in there. And the lady that started the group actually had connections to a lot of gifted mediums, and was able to connect, either, talk to them on the phone or texting private messages, and, have them give me their experiences, but things that they had done to kind of open up different exercises, different meditations, just a lot of prompting and a lot of encouragement to not shut down, open your gifts, embrace the light, be prepared for the dark. You've got to embrace the shadow work, and it's going to get discouraging because there's going to be a lot of purging. So just, I guess, being prepared for the journey and recognizing, I had no idea what a spirit guide was. I was kind of naive to the whole journey. So they kind of really opened my eyes to it and allowed me to take it in and understand what I was going through. And then it just, it turned into a lot of reading, a lot of networking, a lot of reading, just things that resonated with me, because not all mediums, and psychics are alike. So some things I would read that didn't really make a lot of sense to me. And then there was other things that were very profound.
That's awesome. And then you had contacted me a while back and were talking to me about your kids. And it's amazing to me, like, my mother was gifted, I'm gifted, and then my kids are gifted as well. Did your parents also have gifts, or one of your parents that passed on to you and then your children as well?
My grandfather, my mother's father, did, and he was actually the first one to tell my parents to be prepared for it. We have since kind of discovered that my mom does as well. She just kind of snuffed it early on and didn't really embrace it. But in the past year or so, she started to have things that has happened to where she's like, I can't really just, dismiss this anymore and say it's not real. Because she's starting to have, I guess hers was more visions. So, yeah, there's definitely the family history there.
Yeah, it's very awesome how that happens. Another question, as you were telling me about your past and such, being over in the Middle East and in Germany as well. I've seen several shows about jinn and the different hauntings and ghosts that they have over in the Middle East. Not so much in Germany. I haven't gotten that far yet as far as the paranormal into that country. But did you experience different things over there, or jinn or anything very different compared to over here in the United States?
My experience in the Middle East, actually, I was born in Iran, and we left when I was 3 months old because it was during the Iran-Contra. So I don't have an experience. I don't remember it.
That's probably good.
I'll never get to go back, though. I'm kind of sad about that. I know some people are like, what? Really? I mean, you always want to see where you were born.
Yeah, definitely. So, why will you never be able to go back there? You just, is there too much going on back there?
Just too much going on, and, my whole family would, they're like, you don't want to go back there. So I think just, fear, Just fear.
Yeah. I don't know if you know about Periscope, but Periscope is all over the world, so I wonder if there's ways you can tune in there, or like YouTube Live or whatnot, to where you can actually experience these places through another person instead of going over there, because not only is it dangerous for men, but especially for women to go over there. So I stand with your family on that. Like, I wouldn't implore you to go there, but I get that drive that you have, wanting to go back to your birthplace and you know, visit different areas that, you know, your family had been at or where you were born or whatnot. Man, that's a long ways away. What branch of the military was your family in?
My dad was the United States Army.
Nice. You have two brothers in the Army, and then their dad was actually an Army lifer. He was in there for life, and he's got a pretty good life going on right now outside of it. But thank you for your father's service.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And then we have our newest members, Miss Lindie and John McIvers. When I read that name, I thought McIver, but McIver. How did you guys find the Stalkers group?
We actually had our own client, a residential client that we had been working with probably a year or so.
Yeah, I'd say around a year.
And we kind of were at a standstill as far as what we were able to do to help the client kind of just hit this wall. And we're humble enough to realize, like, hey, like, we need help. We got to reach out to some people. So that's kind of where, I guess, Shannon fell into the place. Me and her actually started talking because I followed their page. And she kind of reached out to me and was like, hey, like, if you ever need help, like, let me know. And I was like, well, actually, we have this client. Now that you mention it, we have this client we're going to this weekend, and we, like, definitely need some outside help because we're kind of, like I said, at a wall with it and not sure where to go from here. So they were like, well, guess what? We're actually going to be down there on another investigation not too far from y'all. How about afterwards we meet up with y'all and go see what we can get figured out there? And so we head out there, and it was so natural and just right, I guess, when we all were together and we all just flowed, and it seemed like we had known each other forever.
That's awesome.
And we actually got a lot of answers for our client and were able to help them and do what needed to be done out there. And then I guess it was that night, I guess, really, after we all split ways, me and my husband were talking, we were like, man, that was just too right. Like, you know, like, it just kind of fit into place. And then I guess when they left, they had the same conversation. And then the next day we were all kind of like doing a recap of the night before and the investigation and everything. And all of a sudden they were like, well, we were talking and we just wanted to kind of know if y'all wanted to come join us, like, with the way everything went. And we were like, we were kind of talking about that, like, ourselves, like, so it just kind of all fell into place.
And it was kind of odd how it did fall into place, because I believe that Shannon and Lissette were both at a kind of a happy place with their team just being them two, and me and my wife were just good, just it being us two investigating. But I just think the way that we all clicked together, and it was just so natural, I mean, really, so organic, that it was just like, holy crap. And then whenever they called us the next day and, like, we were recapping, and they're like, so we were thinking, what do y'all think about joining us? And we had just talked about how well we, like, melded together the night before. And we never even considered them offering us to join up into the group. And then once they did, it was like, holy crap, this is amazing. We'd love to come on board and help out as best as we can and learn.
I think it's really awesome.
We feel like we have so much to learn from them. And, I mean, even though we've been doing it now several years, it was just like, after that night of investigating, we were like, man, like, we have so much to learn from them, you know, and so much knowledge to gain. And it was really cool for us from that aspect as well. So,
yeah, it's definitely one of those moments where, you know, everything happens for a reason. You know, you guys were kind of hitting a wall with your client instead of a lot of groups out there have this ego thing where they won't reach out for help, and they're not considering the client, they're considering their ego. And so they just kind of stifle it, and then the client's left with nobody to help them unless they reach out to somebody else. So I really commend you guys for reaching out to them, and it's awesome how you guys did, and then, you know, this all came into play, and now you guys have a new paranormal family.
For sure.
So, Lindie, just as I did with Shannon and Lissette, can you tell me about your first paranormal experience, and how you came to get into paranormal investigation?
I guess I've always kind of felt energies and had different like little, you know, experiences. A lot of it, I guess, as a kid, like I just kind of brushed off. But then my early 20s, I was actually living in my grandparents' house, and I had several little things happen, you know, here and there. And then one day I had some company at my house, and I was in the kitchen washing dishes, and they come in there and they're like, did you turn the radio on in your bedroom? And I was like, no, like I've been in here washing dishes. I was like, let me go check it out. And the door was probably cracked open, you know, foot and a half. And I could see the radio on the dresser. And it's one of those older radios that has like the dial, like you have to turn and you can literally see it like changing the channels. And sure enough, it's changing channels, and it stops on some like, I would say like 1920s, like banjo music, like music you would hear like your great grandparents on the front porch with banjos and harmonicas and stuff. Stuff that would not be on the radio. It was just kind of strange. And it stops and it's playing for a minute, and I'm like, well, okay. So I kind of push open the door a little bit to scan the room. And as soon as I did that, like this huge, like cold burst of air, like freezing cold air hits me. And they just looked at me and they were like, okay, like I'm leaving. Like you can either come with me or stay here. And I just started laughing because to me it was like, oh, this is my papa. Like, you know, like it never felt malevolent or anything like that. I always felt like it was somebody like kind of there protecting me, which would have been my papa. So, it was that, and then just like several other like little things with lights going on, and nothing major up until that point. But after that, it was just like, okay, like there's your sign, like all this stuff you've been thinking is like happening, and like it's happening, you know. So it kind of piqued my curiosity and got me venturing out and opening up to that realm, I guess, like that spirit world, and wanting to pursue it a little bit more. So
that's awesome. And John, well, actually, before I go to John, Lindie, so when you saw the spirit, you recognized it as your papa?
It was just kind of like one of those things where, like, immediately it just came to me like that. Just the energy from it was like, yeah, that's my papa, you know? It's just one of those things, like, it's not really, like, any, like, significance, I guess, like, there, like, specific thing. It was just, like, I knew, you know, if that makes any kind of sense.
Yeah, you don't know how you know, you just know.
Yeah, you just know. I mean, it's just that gut feeling, you know?
Mm-hmm. You gotta always listen to your gut. It'll never lead you astray. I tell that to a lot of people. Your mind overthinks things. Your heart wants too much. Your gut will tell you honestly. It will never lead you astray. So that's awesome that you picked up on that. Did you have a close relationship with your papa, or had he passed when you were really young?
Very much. He actually passed when I was a teenager, but we were super close. Super, super close. He was the man, like, that I admired, and he was just my rock and my protector, and, you know, like, and it's so funny, like, because his name was John, and then here I am married to a man named John, so it kind of all, yeah, and my husband wears his ring, so it all kind of goes full circle.
That is amazing. John, how did you get into the paranormal? And I also want to ask you about that ring after you tell us your story of your first experiences and how you got into the paranormal.
So my great-grandfather passed away before I was ever born back in 1988. One of his last things that he told my father, when my mother was pregnant with me, was that I'll always be there to watch over my great-grandchild. My mother's mom, my Meemaw, she was very, very spiritual and very connected with the spiritual realm. So as a young baby in my crib, she would always hear me in there cooing and laughing and such like that. She would come into my nursery at the time and see my great-grandfather standing above my crib, and it was just like we were just standing there talking, laughing with him and such like that, of course. And so, I mean, that's kind of like, and my grandmother used to tell me these stories that it would happen once a week all the time because she would be there watching me while my parents were at work. And so that's kind of like, I guess, I've always felt him no matter where I moved to, no matter apartments, houses, different states. I've always felt him no matter where I go as a protector. Besides those, my very first paranormal experience, I would say, besides always feeling him around me, would be in the house that me and Lindie live in now. I was woken up in the middle of the night, dead asleep, and sat up in my bed, and there was a guy standing at the end of my bed, like an apparition. And I started tapping my wife, and she was just like, "What? What?" And I was like, "You don't see that guy standing there at the end of our bed?" And she's like, "What are you go back to sleep." I was like, "No, seriously, look." And about that time, I turned around and grabbed her, and when I turned back around, he was gone. And I go to flipping on lamps and flipping on the lights in the house and everything like that, searching my house for somebody, and nobody was there. Our door was closed. It was like, okay, that was kind of weird. And it wasn't unsettling. It was just kind of, I guess, I don't know how to explain it, like surprising to wake up and there's somebody standing above your bed, at the foot of your bed, kind of watching you. So it just kind of made me a little bit anxious, I would say. So I had to hop up and search the house and all.
You're actually talking like crazy in your sleep that night afterwards too.
Yeah, Lindie said I was saying all sorts of crazy stuff in my sleep that night.
And that's interesting because a lot of times when people talk in their sleep, you can only understand a word or two. So you were having a full-on conversation with somebody. What was he saying? Do you remember?
I don't recall that. I don't recall that. She does. But she was saying I was saying all sorts of crazy stuff about out in our woods and something about frying some shrimp, I think, was in there at some point in time or something. So.
That's awesome. When you talked about the man at the end of your bed, it reminded me of an experience I had, and before I woke up to this entity at the end of my bed, but in my doorway, I had a really crazy dream. Did you have a dream that woke you up and you woke up and saw this person? Or did you just feel like there was a presence there and you woke up and saw him?
Normally I don't wake up in the middle of the night, like very rarely. So for the fact that like I just kind of like popped up in the middle of the night, I think that almost subconsciously or something, it was like, hey, I'm here, get up, see me, like acknowledge me. But I can't recall any specific dream or anything. Like I said, I don't recall talking in my sleep like most people probably don't until my wife the next night was like, what were you dreaming about? Or that next day, like what was going on with you last night? That was odd.
She's like, were you taking a little sip of Grandpa's cough syrup? So after this experience, did you ever sense him or feel like he was around anymore after that? Or was that just a one-time thing?
So our house, like I work in the oil field, so I'll be gone for 2-3 weeks at a time and then home for a couple of weeks. And at those points in time, the kids will be off, the wife will be at work. And I do get the sense of somebody else in the house with me. And it's never really, only a couple of times has it been uneasy because I've seen two different, per se, shadow people inside my home. One of them knowing it's my great-grandfather. The other one is significantly shorter. I'd say probably around 5'5"-ish, maybe a little shorter than that. And that it's not, I acknowledge it, but it's like, okay, make yourself known. Don't watch me through cracks in the doors. Don't watch me,
Yeah,
Don't
you're
follow
welcome.
me
Come in.
down
Quit
my
being a
hallway.
creeper.
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't follow me down my hallway. Present yourself at the end of my hallway to where when I come out of my room or anything like that, like, I see you. Don't just try to, like, you know, avoid being seen, but it's, you know, just a feeling of being watched.
Yeah.
And as a grown man, you know, not pretty big in stature, it's like, okay, why do I feel this way in my own home?
Yeah. And it's interesting you're talking about the woods. How big is the property you guys live on?
Just about 80 acres.
Wow. I wonder what, perhaps it's a person that had lived there before, and I don't know, I'm just like kind of drawn to the woods. What about the woods and shrimp? So was this guy, being small in stature and stuff, a coon-ass, somebody from Louisiana that had moved to Mississippi and talking about frying up shrimp?
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, it's,
Have you guys done any... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Behind it. No, I was just saying I could probably, draw so many hypotheses behind it that, like, there's no telling.
Have you guys... Go ahead.
Like that in our house, but for me, it's outside on our land to where I feel like there's a presence, like, watching, kind of creeping. Like, the house is, like, my safe place, I guess, whereas for him, that's where he's had his experiences here, so...
Yeah, and the woods is my safe place, like out at one of our ponds fishing or just out in the woods working on the property, clearing trees and stuff like that. That's where I feel calm and everything like that.
That's awesome. Have you guys ever done any, like, record searches or done any EVPs or any sort of paranormal investigation at your own house to try to find out?
Well, let's see. We are paranormal investigators. So,
I am too, but I'm afraid to investigate my own house because I got kids and I don't want to kick it up. So I'll investigate outside the house.
We're kind of like, we're like big kids, like when it comes to that. So anytime we get new equipment, we're like, oh, okay, time to do a session. But we actually captured. We have a barn on our property that was actually the original cabins from Percy Quinn State Park, and my step-grandfather actually had them brought here and just kind of added a roof to the two cabins and had a breezeway going through it or whatnot. But we actually captured our first Class A EVP in there, which said, get out. I mean, plain as day, get out. And the same night we actually captured that, we caught a white mist. As far as being able to get any names, anything like that, like, we haven't been able to do that. But it's kind of neat, I guess, knowing, like, there is something here. I don't really feel like it's malevolent or out to get us or anything like that. So that's kind of comforting, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah, for sure. You want to feel safe. Like, when we moved in here, we started off with one ghost that we knew of. His name was John. And he died here from emphysema. And, that feeling you're talking about being watched, somebody else is there when you're alone. I'd always felt that, but the first time I knew that he was here, I had gotten ready for work and I was walking out the gate, which is right by my bedroom window, and I heard this man coughing in my bedroom. And I was like, holy shit, I am so glad I'm going to work right now because I'm home alone and I don't know who the hell's in my house. And then I talked to my sister neighbor Lisa, and she was telling me about the guy that lived here that died from emphysema, and that he was a really nice guy and everything, and about his grandkids, so on and so forth. But he's always been cool. But I think, like, due to doing paranormal investigation and just being gifted throughout my whole life, different things come in and out. Some stay for a little bit of time or a lengthy amount and then move on. But it's pretty interesting. Do you guys get anything like that doing paranormal investigations?
We do. We've actually tried to do some research and come across some different things. As far as, like, the aspect of the barn goes and stuff like that, I think a lot of that is just maybe some residual energy going on there too, with all the people that came in and out the cabins when they were actually at the state park. Other than really knowing that, like, we haven't really found anything to give us any definite answers on anything. So
it's very interesting. Yeah, I need to go down and check the records and whatnot. Our neighbors, they're like, you haven't been down to the museum, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. I can't believe this. Well, supposedly where we live, in a big patch, like acres and acres, there was a big battle between the natives and soldiers. Like there have been battles here for so long throughout history, whether it's Spanish, French, or Americans. But yeah, they said that this land is massacre land, and I'm like, well, that kind of explains a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
My granny's house in Arkansas, we believe, was built on a burial ground, and we think that's why a lot of activity happened there as well. So as far as Death Stalkers Paranormal goes, and being established in 2018, what made you decide to form a group?
Well,
Okay.
yeah. Well, it's kind of a story. I actually belonged to a different group at the time, and it went pretty good for a couple of years. But sometimes when you're with other people and you have different ideas and different philosophies, and you pick up different things at location, it just got to be. It was more of a hassle than it was fun anymore. And this is Shannon, by the way. And I just decided that it was time to kind of branch out and start another team. I had met several people that I had actually done readings for or investigated their houses for, and made a connection and really have more of a paranormal connection with those people than I did with the team that I have been working with. So at the time, we all came together and bonded and formed Death Stalkers.
It's funny, I've had so many different groups on my show, and my husband's like, who you got on the show this weekend? I'm like, well, we got the Paradox Paranormal Forum and then Death Stalkers Paranormal. And he asked me every weekend, what's going on this weekend? But the name, and I heard someone talking about a name change, but the name, he's like, wow, that's a really cool name. I like that. Are you guys changing the name of your group?
We are changing the name of the group, and it's not. Death Stalkers will always be Death Stalkers, but Death Stalkers, and I know I can bring them up because they don't mind, and we still talk, and we're still connected. But Death Stalkers was and will always be Shannon, Lissette, Caden, Alyssa, Alicia, and Destry. And we lived some distance from each other. They're up north, we're, middle, and we kind of all went on and did our own things, different paths paranormally. And Death Stalkers will always, to me, be that chapter. And it was time to focus on a new chapter. So not only, so the new chapter and bringing in the new name.
So have you decided on a new name yet, or is that still up in the air?
Oh, no, we have a new name. Lissette, you want to talk?
Sure. Our new name is Roots and Wings Paranormal. It's significant to us because our new logo is a cross with angel wings, and then the cross goes down and turns into heart-shaped roots. And the symbolism between the name and our logo. Shannon came up with the name, I came up with the logo. And so it's to represent our faith and our Christian background. But also we embrace, it's a reminder to stay rooted and remind us to stay grounded and not forget where we came from.
That's awesome. I'm excited for you guys. It's like a new beginning. A psychic had told me I have new beginning coming. So I think that's happening for a lot of us in the awakened world is what I think of it as. But yeah, new beginnings. So it's exciting. I'm excited for everyone.
Thank
and
you.
you guys seem to have a really good group going on. Shannon, have you thought about going over to John and Lindie's house and checking out who's there?
Yes, I've actually had over this past weekend been reminded that I still haven't investigated Lissette's house, which is kind of funny because when we met 3 years ago, that was how we met. And we still haven't investigated Lissette's house. So, yes, in the near future, we'll be doing an investigation at Lissette's house and also at John and Lindie's house.
So you guys have done a lot of stuff, and especially recently, it's been hard for us with COVID going on. You guys are right back out there and helping people, and super tired. So I'm so glad you're still here and didn't tap out on me. But can you tell us about? Well, we actually have about, let's say, 8 minutes before we go to break. A little bit scathing over the different investigations that you guys did, and then we'll go more in depth after the music break.
Okay. John, do you want to take the hospital?
Would I like to do what?
Would you like to talk about the hospital?
I mean, again, you want to talk about it right now?
Yeah,
Of course.
go.
I mean, so it was our first time going to the Hardy Wilson Hospital. Shannon and Lissette had been there before a few weeks ago, and that was actually when they came after that investigation to help us with our private client. But that's another story that I believe Lindie already said. So the hospital, me as a person, I don't do hospitals. I don't do doctor's offices.
I feel you.
Whatsoever. Like, my wife has to drag me in there. You have to be on your deathbed to get me to go into a hospital, or if I'm sick, I have to be on my deathbed to go to the doctor. I hate those places. Until last night, which is kind of crazy for me. But the hospital, it's different, but it's a very neat location to absolutely investigate. Just the difference, of course, the differences of energies and everything that you get there, from like the ORs to the psych wards or psych wings there to the basement where all the storage rooms were, and a pretty brutal murder happened down there. I mean, you just get so many different energies kind of coming in from different wings of the hospital. And it's really, at some points in times, it can be quite overwhelming. But in the same sense, it's like almost a breath of fresh air to be able to just experience all those different kind of emotions in one location. Because a lot of times you'll go to a location. Of course, Shannon doesn't, because we kind of keep that from her. But we all know a little bit of the research of where we're going and know the backgrounds of locations. And with a hospital, you just have so many different things that have gone on over so many years, from malpractices to, of course, people dying in ORs or ERs and such like that, that there's always just that residual that just sticks there. So it was really good. We actually had a really good session down in the basement last night, our last session before all the groups broke apart and kind of people went separate ways or went back to the bed and breakfast. But we got
interesting though how, like, our first session, like, the spirits were kind of leading us to, like, our next location in the hospital, and then once we got there, it was like they kind of led us to, like, where we needed to go next. And it was just kind of interesting how that whole night kind of played out.
And I'm probably the newest one to paranormal investigating. I obviously don't have I have so much to learn from Lissette and Shannon. It's just, for me, it's all a learning. And Lissette kind of tells me that she watches over me like my mother would. She's always reeling me back in because I get drawn to certain areas, and the group will be walking one direction, and like when we went down to the basement, the whole group was going to the left at the bottom of the stairs. And instantly when I got to the bottom of the stairs, it's like, oh, y'all are going left? I'm going to go right. Mm-hmm. And they're like, John, ring it back in, get back over here, stop wandering. But, I mean, we had a really, really great sessions last night. It was absolutely amazing. I can't wait to get back into the hospital and do it all over again.
Yeah, I can't help but wonder, like, had you gone to the right, you would have been by yourself, or would Lindie have been with you? And was something drawing you over there? It's interesting to think, like, what would have happened. Yeah, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, I would have. Yes, it can be. And actually, Shannon touched with me on that last night. She's like, you need to be careful because there are tricky spirits out there that can be malevolent and can draw you that way, like almost like, hey, playful, like, hey, just come over here, do a quick EVP session by yourself. And then I get caught up in like a time lapse or something like that. And she was like, next thing you know, John, we're going to find you passed out in the middle of a room after we've been searching for you for an hour, or in a bathroom or a closet somewhere, passed out, completely drained, and we're going to have to rush you to the hospital and do all sorts of work on you. So we need you, even though you're preparing yourself and you've called upon your archangels and your angels to protect you, you still need the group protection around you. And that's one thing that with our new group, with, Roots and Wings, it has really been a huge thing. And we recognize that, like, we're all out just to look out for each other at the same time. So it was an eye-opener when Lissette and Shannon were saying that to me last night.
But I was, like, taken back at how, like, mesmerized you were, like, even from the outside, and so eager to go in. And I was like, this is not you at all.
Yeah, and it's funny, like she said, they can find you passed out on the floor and drained or whatnot, or sometimes people are found just standing there frozen and they don't hear or see anything going on around them. They're kind of in this zone, like maybe in another time seeing something, or not even realizing that they've left this time and space. They're just standing there as like an empty capsule for a minute.
Yeah, and to even like drop your guard for half a second and walk away with an attachment that I have to deal with for months and years down the road. I mean, it was an eye-opener for me, and that's like I said prior in the interview, that I have so much to learn from them, and I'm so humbled that they even asked me and my wife to join the group. Like, it was really like a, holy cow, let me absorb this knowledge and just learn and develop as a paranormal investigator.
Yeah, there's so many things that you do learn, whether it's tech or gifts or, just opening up and being able to experience these different things, as well as protection and grounding and how to keep these things from coming home with you. But on that note, we are going to go to our first musical break. On this break, we have Miss Michaela Hay from Ontario, Canada, and she'll be singing Devil You Know, as well as Mirror and Nothing But Blood. And we'll also have Griff, who is from Toronto, Canada, singing Let Freedom Ring, which is one of my new favorite songs. So you guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
Okay, yo, here's the scoop. You can still be a slave, you're a whip and loop. That's the truth. Got big houses, nice cars. That's real cute, but it doesn't mean nothing. You ain't free to choose. When I say free to choose, no alarm clock, don't gotta hit the snooze. The world is backwards, I'm so confused. They say freedom of speech, but when you speak your mind, they blow a fuse. Just being honest, common sense and common. It's kind of ironic. My freedom, I recently bought it. Now I'm a target. If I do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing, come on, man. Let freedom ring. Yeah. United States become divided states. shades. The world is filled with all kinds of shades, and still resegregate. Parents separate from the children, that's not okay. We should be free to laugh and play. Do it now, before you pass away. Fight for what's right, enough for everybody to get a piece of the pie. Brainwash, social media, full of lies. Go to work, pay bills, then you die. Need a breakaway, guns, get rid of the AKs. Our ancestors paved way since the slave days, but we still hurting. Carry that burden, stop playing victim, beat the system. Love is love, it should be shown. Can't grow unless you leave your comfort zone. This I know, I learned all this from the mentorship. Kids don't know what independent is. Take advantage what your parents did. Go against the grid, you have to. Like going to the bathroom, learn the right songs, cause of Matthew. Liberty like statue, they call now the present, cause it's a gift. It should be cherished, last name fearless, not Harris. All thanks to my parents' parents. Now, love the last name every time that I hear it, cause I know what it represents. Climb the fence, so now I got freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing. Freedom. Such a beautiful thing. Freedom. Such a wonderful thing.
There's too much sky, too blue, too white. The birds on the wire are singing, but I don't know why. Why aren't the roses hanging their heads? They're standing straight up, blooming instead. Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. Why does that guy have a smile on his face? Why is the sun even shining today? Why are the headlines talking about love? Don't they all know what happened to us? Now that we're apart, there's nothing but blood in my heart. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the stars light up, the world goes round. Every day, life moves on, it don't stop for anyone. The moon goes up, the sun goes down, the in my heart. Blood in my heart. Blood in my heart. I dove right in. Didn't bring a parachute. Fell right through. Hit the water hard. Moving too fast. Spiraling out of control. Was touch and go. Went a little far. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep your shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. Try to erase the ink that's left upon my chest. I'll attest. I don't really wanna forget to forget. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep your shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. You taught me how to turn a blind eye. I showed you how to keep a shoulder cold. No one walked away without a scar. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer through this rippled mirror. I've been digging through the pieces. Your heart is out of reach, but objects may seem nearer Better the devil, you know. Better the devil, you know. Better the devil, you know. Better the devil, you know.
Welcome back, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we have Death Stalkers Paranormal with Lissette, Shannon, Lindie, and John. You guys, welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank you for having us.
So we left off talking about the hospital you guys had investigated and how John had tried to go off on his own. Can you tell us a little bit more in depth about some of the things that happened that night?
Go ahead. Me? Okay. Well, we did Shannon's always pushing the talking off on everybody but herself. Anyway, we had done 2 sensory deprivation sessions. One was in the OR. That was the first one we did. And so Shannon does the sensory deprivation session. So she gets blindfolded. She's got sound canceling headphones on that are connected to, was it the voice box or something similar to the voice box. And so we're all sitting around asking questions and whatnot. And we're getting very pointed answers. Now, as John had said, Shannon and I had been there a couple of weeks ago, and we had done a sensory in the OR as well. We were getting lots of different spirits. And so one of the spirits that we were communicating with regularly, you know, they were like, we were asking if anybody wanted to, you know, cross over or leave or whatever. And they're like, yeah, we can't. And we're like, well, sure you can. I mean, we can help you. And they're like, yeah, no, we're not allowed. So at that point, you know, red flags are going up for me and a couple of the other investigators that were in the room with us. Shannon's oblivious to the questions that we're asking. So she's only hearing spirits answer, and which I can only imagine is kind of confusing because when you're hearing different phrases and stuff, but you have no idea what it correlates to. And so they said there was a energy there that they referred to as the old one. And after a series of questions, we've kind of established that the old one was never a human spirit. After the investigation, we're, you know, comparing notes and talking, we kind of came to the conclusion that it wasn't necessarily like demonic or anything, but it was more like a soul collector. And so the more spirits there, he was getting stronger. It was a control and power thing. And we told the spirit, we're coming back and we're going to help you leave if that's what you want to do. The old one isn't the friendliest of people. And so, or energy, should I say. So when we came back this second time, like we were bound and determined to help whatever spirits that wanted to leave the confines of the hospital to do so. We did our first EV or our first sensory session again in the OR because that's where we got most of the activity the last time we were there, and we were getting some of the ones that we had communicated with prior, and then we had gotten a couple of new ones, and all of a sudden this one, and it was pretty funny because he referred himself as the wolf. Like he never really gave me a name, and at first he was kind of like standoffish. And so when he referred himself to, referred to himself as the wolf, I'm like, that's funny because I'm a wolf too. And the response that Shannon gave back was something like, well, isn't that interesting? But it was a very sarcastic tone to it. And I don't know, I connected with the spirit like I haven't in any other location that we've been to. And so I kept asking him questions. And he made it clear that he didn't think he could leave there. And so, I'm like, hey, look, I can, you guys can leave. And he's like, yeah, no, I don't think so. And so I told him, I was like, we can make it happen. He's like, for real? So I'm like, yeah, for real. And I don't know, it's just something about the answers that just made me be like, would you like me to pray for you? And his response was, would you? I'm like, absolutely. I'll pray for anybody that wants to be prayed for. If you want me to pray for you, I'll pray for you. And as I'm saying that to him, she says, mercy. And I'm like, okay, so you're telling me that you want me to ask God to have mercy on your soul. And he confirmed that. So we're like, okay, finished up the session. And we went outside to have a break. And I told him, I was like, they sent us to the psych ward. So we went to the psych ward and we communicated with him again. And again, he asked about prayer. And I said, yes, I will pray for you. When we take a break from here, I'm going to go outside and I'll separate myself and say a prayer specifically, for you and those of you that would like to move on. And I did, when we stopped and we went outside for a break, had a cigarette, and then I went and had, went off to like where we were parked and said a little prayer, specifically for him and, talking to God and just like, I have no idea who this person is. I have no idea what they may have done while they were alive. But please, if there's, mercy to be given, have mercy on this man's soul and please, welcome him into heaven if that's possible. So when we went back in, we went to the basement and Shannon went under for the sensory deprivation again. And so we were talking and, the wolf, like, he was like, Wolf. And I'm like, oh, you're here. And he was like, yes. And he was calling me by my name and everything. And he was calling different, because it was a event that it was more than one paranormal team. There was 3 teams there. Mm-hmm. And so we were kind of like all working together. So he was identifying those of us that he had communicated with before. He is identifying us by name. And so I think he said something like prayer or whatever. And I'm like, I prayed for you. And it was almost like he was surprised. And he was like, really? And it's neat. I love watching Shannon do communication with spirit and doing sensory because when she does it, her responses reflect the tone of the spirit that's communicating. And we get some very snarky interactions. We get some downright funny ones. But he came across as genuinely surprised that, I said I was going to pray for him. One of the other investigators, chimed in. He was like, yeah, that's a woman of her word. And if she said she was going to pray for you, then she did. And for some reason, when Shannon and I do investigations, we get a lot of Bible verses that may seem random, but when I pull up the Bible verse and I start reading it, it will totally resonate with either the location that we're in, the current times going on around the world, or things that we have gotten from the spirits of that particular location. And so when I was reading the first Bible verse, and usually they give us the direct Bible verse, this time they decided to actually recite part of a Bible verse, and I recognized it. Like, I wasn't sure which one it was, but I'm like, that's a Bible verse. And I was telling, everybody in the room with us. So I go to searching and I found it, and I'm like, hey, I'm like, okay, is it Psalm 92 that you guys want me to read? And the response was yes. So as I'm reading Psalm 92, she was relaying what Spirit was saying, and a couple of times, like, they would say words or phrases that are within the Bible verse that I hadn't gotten to yet. and one that stands out is rock. The word rock is in this particular Bible verse. And so a couple of minutes, like maybe a minute or a few seconds before I got to that part of the Bible verse, one of the spirits said rock. And so when I got to it in the Bible verse, we had a young man that was investigating with us for the first time. And he was like, oh, my God, they just said rock, you know. So it was really, really cool and profound. I believe that we did end up crossing Mr. Wolf and a couple of others. I read one other Bible verse that they asked me to read. And so after that, it just got really quiet. The energy was very different in the room. And it got to the point where, you know, Shannon went ahead and took off her headphones. And she's like, I think we're going to stop because they've stopped communicating. And so I explained to her what had just happened. And she was like, all right, cool. We're done here. So it was a really neat experience at the hospital.
It really is, and it's so awesome when you're able to help somebody on the other side to be free, to free them due to their certain beliefs and such. They get stuck, or perhaps it's another spirit keeping them there.
So it was a really neat experience.
Yeah, and Brian in the chat room was saying he got to be a part of that session last night. So did you guys do this on Facebook Live, and do you generally do your investigations on Facebook?
It depends on where we're at. The story that I just gave you, that actually was on our page. We did do a Facebook Live on that one. And we try to go live on investigations because we like our followers to stay engaged in what we do and see what we do and see how we help spirits, because that's one of the reasons why we all chose to be paranormal investigators. It's not for necessarily just the thrill of the chase or whatever. It's to help spirits and to help, you know, homeowners and whatnot. And so we did do that session live. So that is on our Facebook page. The only time we really don't go live at an investigation is if we're working with a private client. And we do that is because we really respect our clients' privacy. Not everybody wants the world to know that they live in a haunted house or that there's stuff going on in their house, because not everybody's open to it, especially here in the South. So we don't generally go live during private clients. But other than that, we try to go live a couple times when we're at any other location.
Yeah, and it's super easy and super cool. YouTube, I've been trying to do the show live, and I can't, no matter which computer I try, how hard I try. I can't seem to get it to go live. And Facebook has always been so simple, so easy, and just as good. And I heard that you can actually upload your Facebook videos to YouTube, so that might be something for the future. But that's awesome that you guys do that, and so many people take part in that and kind of live vicariously through you, whether or not they can't really go out and walk around a lot. We have a couple team members like that at the moment, but it's so awesome to be able to do that and that you guys share that. And I understand the whole, some clients want their stuff private, so they don't want the Facebook Live, but it's awesome. I commend you guys for what you're doing and helping people, not only on this side, but the other.
Thank you very much. We love what we do. So it's really cool, especially when you get that type of validation, and to know that our purpose for what we do is actually being met.
So when you guys go out to investigate, do you use a bunch of tools to see what the different outcomes are and if it kind of lines up, or do you guys just tend to go in there using your gut? What exactly do you do on investigation?
Shannon can answer that one.
Yeah. I used to kind of go in with a game plan, but I realized never fails that the game plan never, ever, ever works. So it's kind of gotten to where we go in, just kind of let spirit and gut lead the direction of the investigation. Like I said, we've got equipment and we pull it out and we'll have this plan. Okay, let's use this on location and let's use this on location. And it never works. I don't know why, but I don't think it's yet we've ever actually followed through with an outline or a plan on an investigation.
We kind of go where spirit leads us.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to plan that out because every investigation tends to be different because you're dealing with different people, different environment, and different spirits. You can never plan it, really. You just kind of got to fly by the seat of your pants.
Yeah. Pretty much.
We'll wing it.
Even going to the same location multiple times, it's always different. Like for me, no matter how many times I've been to a certain location, it's always like the first time because it's when you're dealing with the spirit world, nothing's black and white. There are so many different variables on, who's there that feels like communicating or they don't feel like communicating this time or, somebody realizes that Shannon's there and they're like, oh, cool, yeah, she can, relay my story, so I'm going to pop in, which we get a lot sometimes. I always joke with her because I'm like, dude, I swear you're like the freaking superstar of the paranormal or the spiritual world. And she doesn't, I don't think she always realizes that they're talking about her, but when we're doing a sensory, especially a sensory, because she doesn't hear the questions that we're asking, and, we'll get like, is it really her? Can she hear us? She's going to help us, or, hey, she's here, so I'm like, dude, you must be like a rock star to the spirit world. It's pretty awesome.
I think it was actually kind of neat last night, which for one, Shannon is pretty much like our number one tool, but like last night during sensory, we actually had a spirit come through and was like, hey, EVP, which we still have to go back and review that, but if we wind up catching, an EVP at that point in time, it's going to be so awesome to know, like, hey, the spirit's, like, telling you, like, hey, go check this piece of equipment,
So as far as equipment goes, you guys have, the next thing on my list to get is the Connect camera thingy-jigger, which I've almost got enough money for it. Those I've heard can be kind of tricky, but I mean, when we had our Connect in our living room, we actually had a spirit pop up a couple times and we ended up unplugging it. The very last thing that was the straw that broke the camel's back was it started moving around and looking around the room. And so we're like, yep, we're unplugging this. and nobody was using it at the time. So that was really weird.
Yeah, we have one. And when it works, it's great. It's just getting it to work. And every person that I've known that's had one, it's the same issue. When it works great, but getting it to work on a location, it's 50-50.
Frustrating is what it is.
So, where did you guys get your Connect Cam thing from? I saw one on the Ghost Hunter store for like $3.99, I think. And, you basically get what you pay for. This has a small screen and, a little dilly or whatever. The other one is like $200 more. Did you guys go with the cheaper version and perhaps that's why there's issues, or can you tell us a little bit what you think is wrong with it?
We did go with the cheaper version. I actually found a guy online that made ours and put it together. Now, when we've had issues with it, we have sent it back to him and he has fixed it and sent it back to us. So he's been on top of it. It's just, honestly, we haven't taken the time to really, since it's messed up this past time, to really take it apart and see. I think it's a wiring issue right now, and we just kind of got to dig into it, and we just haven't, honestly, taken the time to do it. But
so
I think...
Go ahead.
I think finding, somebody else actually build it is probably better, personally.
Yeah, and I know several people that are basically building their own stuff. It's pretty interesting. I don't know. I think I could do it, but I'd rather leave it to the professionals. I replaced the screen on my phone. It worked great for a minute, and then I always have to turn it off, turn it back on, and I'm like, I really don't want that to happen with something else. But I do have a Kinect camera here somewhere, unless my last roommate took it, and I've been thinking about trying to rig something up with a computer or however they do it. That would be pretty cool. So as far as equipment goes, what exactly do you guys carry, and do you have a particular tool that is your favorite besides your gut instinct?
Yeah, Shannon?
For my favorite tool, I always say that it's the best piece of equipment that we have, money can't buy. It's priceless. And that's Shannon's amazing gift. But we use stuff. We have, obviously we use, the recorders, and we have camcorders that we use, and still cameras, and we use the K2 meters, and REM pods, just little things to put out. But the one piece of equipment that never it's Shannon.
Yeah. And a flashlight. Handy dandy flashlight. For me, it's the simple pieces: the voice recorder, the camcorder, and a flashlight. Old school spirit box.
Yeah, I find that the SBP7 works better than the SBP11. I always call it SB7. Anyways, I think the SB11 has way too much going on, so it kind of just clutters everything. And the SB7, I don't know, it just tends to work a lot better as long as you have a speaker to plug into it or whatnot. Otherwise, it's hard to hear.
Right.
We've had both of them, Lindie and I, and
like the 7
and the 7, we steer just completely away from the 11 nowadays and strictly use the 7 whenever we do use it.
Yeah, I think I might sell my 11 and, use that money for something else, because I go towards the 7. The 11 just is too much. It doesn't work very good. It's funny, my niece, I took her to the cemetery when they were down here about a month ago, and they turned the little red light on the top of it on, and they were walking through the cemetery, and the cops were across the way at this storage unit, and they, in the cemetery, there's all kinds of different solar-powered lights that people put on different graves and such, and they see this red light bobbing along, and so they come to investigate what it is and find us. But yeah, they were pretty freaked out for a minute. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, I can imagine they're seeing red orbs, like, walking across the cemetery. They're like,
Hey, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, this last time I was supposed to call and give them a heads up. I told the crew, yeah, I'll call them and let them know. And then later on I was like, no, we'll just let them show up because, I don't mind seeing a man in uniform. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
we had 2 officers show up right away this time. They were sitting across the way when we pulled in, and they said the teenagers have been going over there and hanging out, and they were just, questioning us about what we do. Are we professional? How long have we been around? So on and so forth. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see them and hand out some more cards. And we already have a couple of the officers here in Bayfield following us. It's pretty cool. I don't generally go to cemeteries, though. That seems like a place for me of rest. And if I was a ghost, would I hang out there? And then I was thinking about it the day we went out. Perhaps when somebody drives through the driveway, they're like, ding dong, hey, somebody's at the cemetery. Let's go see if they're here to see us. Do you guys ever go on cemetery crawls?
Living in the town that we live in, we have a pretty historical cemetery. It's called Friendship Cemetery. It's the very first Memorial Day that's celebrated here in the States started at Friendship Cemetery. So I've gone there with my girls for historical purposes because it's just, I'm a history buff. But I completely agree with you that cemeteries are a resting place. I mean, you don't generally get a whole lot of activity or communication at cemeteries because they're resting, they're at peace, they're cool with it. I think I one time unintentionally brought someone home from the cemetery with us.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, took care of that one pretty quick. I guess it was messing with my dog and scaring him. I wasn't home, and my son happened to be home, and he addressed it with the spirit, and he was like, yeah, look, like, my mom's cool with sharing the house with you, but there are rules, and the rules are you don't mess with the dogs, and you definitely don't mess with my sisters. And while we still have activity in our house, we didn't have that type of, my dog was like staring into the corner, growling. As vicious as a Shih Tzu can sound, it scared my daughter. And so my son addressed it because I wasn't home, but none of the dogs have ever behaved like that since. That's not to say that we still don't have activity in our house. It's just not from, I think we got rid of the hitchhiker.
Well, that's good. And you were saying don't mess with the dogs, don't mess with the kids. Have you had something come in before that did?
That one particular instance, I happened to be in town having like a girls' night. I went to a coffee shop with a friend of mine. And my kids are not the kind of like clingy kids where when mom leaves, it's like, when are you coming home type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So for my daughter to have calls, I knew something must have been going on. And then when I heard her voice, like I could hear the panic in her voice, and I can hear the dog like barking in the background. I'm like, what is going on? So that's when she told me, she's like, Mom, Cookie's in the dining room, and she's just staring into a corner where there's nothing there. Because at first I'm like, well, is there somebody at the door? Or maybe there's like an animal outside, so we're kind of in the country. And she's like, no, she's in the dining room, staring into the corner where there's no windows, barking and growling, and it's freaking me out, Mom. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm on my way home. Go get your brother from his room. And my son was 20 at the time, and have him check it out. And so he comes, I hear her get him, and he comes into the area, and all of a sudden he's just like, Megan, go to your room now, like really kind of abrupt about it. And I'm like, dude, don't talk to your sister like that. She's scared. And he's like, Mom, not now. And he hung up. And so I looked at my friend, and I'm like, dude, I got to go. Like, shit's hitting the fan at my house, I think, and I need to be there. By the time I got home, it had been resolved, but my son said that, and he was open when he was younger. He had an experience that just totally freaked him out, so he shut himself off. But he was like, it was the most bizarre thing, Mom. He was like, when I walked out of my room into the living room, the energy was different. And then when I walked from the living room into the dining room, he said he literally had to brace himself with his hand on the wall because it felt like somebody punched him in the chest. And then at that point, the dog came and kind of like stood between his legs, but kept growling in the corner and then looking at him like, dude, do you see what I'm seeing? And so I asked my son, I'm like, well, how did you address it? Because I know that type of thing generally does not sit well with him. And he was like, well, I kind of just had a chat with him, and he goes, I felt that it was a male energy. And he's, I basically told him, like, Mom's okay with y'all being here, but there's rules. Don't freak out the dogs. Don't freak out my sisters, or my mom will make you disappear. So either coexist nicely or you got to go. And he says he feels it left because the energy completely changed after that. And we haven't had, we still have, my girls have seen and heard. There's a little girl at my house. My husband's come home from work late at night. He usually gets off work like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And he said there's a couple times where he walked up to the front door and he heard like giggling or a girl's voice. And he's thinking, why are the girls still up when they have to get up for school in the morning, only to walk in and the house is dark and everybody's asleep. We have a soldier who he's communicated with one of my twins. And so she refers to him as Sarge. And she's like, he just kind of hangs out and he's in and out. I think he comes with the land. Our house isn't that old, but there's a lot of history in the state of Mississippi. The town that I live in wasn't a battleground, but it was a hospital town. So a lot of the older antebellum homes in our downtown district were actually used as hospitals. So I'm thinking that our home sits on land that might have been a route to the hospital or something like that. Recently, they were home alone. The twins each had their own room, so they were coming out of Morgan's room. I guess Morgan came out first, Megan came out behind her, and for whatever reason, Morgan turned around, and there was a tall shadow figure behind Megan. So she screamed, which startled Megan. And, when I got home, they were telling me about it, and they know that most people think that all shadow figures are negative, and it's not.
Yeah.
I firmly think that, a shadow figure, it's just but there's negative energy, there's positive energy. But sometimes, the spirits, the only ability they have to present themselves is as a shadow. They maybe don't have enough energy to present a clearer picture or whatever. And so, I asked her, I was like, well, what kind of feelings were you getting? And she's like, oh, it wasn't bad, because I wasn't scared. It just startled me because I wasn't expecting to turn around to say something to Megan and find out that somebody was standing behind her. So my girls and my husband have experiences at my house all the time. I just feel the energy change. I refer to myself, I'm the lame and ungifted one, because I don't have all the experiences in my house that my family does as far as seeing them and hearing them. But I can tell when there's someone around because the energy is different. And if my teammates ever get to my house, we might figure out exactly who they are.
You're like, someday, come on. It's crazy how that happens, though. Other things come first, and so you got to help others before you help yourself. But you're like, come on, me next.
Yeah. Can I just schedule an appointment? And but it's interesting.
So Moon was asking, do you guys feel that shadow figures are responsible for why he wobbles and don't fall down? He's a funny guy. I should have read that first. But I trusted you, Mooney. No. But I agree with you when you're saying, a lot of people think that shadow figures are bad, just like they think little kid spirits must be demons because little kids automatically go to heaven. I think it all depends on what happened to you and your belief system, so on and so forth. Sometimes you get lost. But like you were saying with shadow people, it depends on what energy you're collecting to form. So you could appear as a white mass. You could appear as a dark mass. It just kind of depends on what's around to collect from.
Correct. Yep. And to answer Mooney's question, absolutely. They are the reason why he wibbles and wobbles and he can't fall down.
Mm-hmm. Try as you may, Mr. Moon. It is so interesting, but I do find comfort in the fact that there is something on the other side, and we're not just, a body being eaten by worms and bugs. We leave that physical body, and we continue on as our energy. Are you guys, I don't know, Shannon and Lissette, I can pick up on auras. Are you able to pick up on auras, even spiritual?
I'm lame and ungifted.
I do.
Shannon does.
But I think up on energy, people's energy and stuff before I really kind of pick up or it's the aura and I just feel it as energy. But yeah, if I focus, I can. I guess I'm just not that in tune to where I do it often.
Yeah, it happens at different times. I remember it was shortly after my Uncle Bill had passed away, and my sister Amanda is sitting there talking to me, and I see him, not him, but his aura, like his energy standing behind her, and he kept trying to float up, but he'd come back down, kept trying to float up and come back down. And I'm like, Amanda, I'm not trying to be rude, but I have to tell you, I keep seeing your dad behind you as you're talking to me, and he keeps floating up and coming back down, so I'm a little distracted, but That's pretty cool. Like, not only on spirits or people, but even plants or trees. Sometimes I see their auras, and I'm just like, this is amazing. Even spirit animals, it's insane. There's ghosts of every kind. We're all energy.
Right. Yeah, I get a lot of ghost cats. I don't know why. Maybe because you're the crazy cat lady.
I have a crazy cat lady starter kit. I actually have 3 kittens in the next room. If anybody's interested. No, I'm just kidding. I got a couple who have homes coming up, but yeah. Crazy cat lady kit.
Yeah, Shannon's got 7 cats. I'm sure that once you've passed that, like, what's one more? Send one to Shannon. She'll give it.
Well, it's funny because, go ahead.
No, we were supposed to be done at 5. So, but apparently it was a 2 more situation. One of them we actually brought home from an investigation.
Wow, that does happen sometimes. Did he
seem
like he
just adopted a puppy from an investigation?
Aww.
And so John and Lindie came home with a puppy.
Yeah, that's awesome. I even have 9 puppies. If there's a crazy puppy lady kit, it's
no, that's just normal. That's normal.
Yeah, we have 6 at home, and I almost came home with a coyote one time.
Oh.
Well, okay, so in Florida, we don't have coyotes just hanging out on the side of the road. Shannon and I live about 2.5 hours from each other, so I'm more in northern Mississippi, and I'm leaving her house, heading home, and I'm driving, and it's pouring out. So I see what looks like a little dog on the side of the road up ahead, and I'm, bleeding heart for dogs, and I'm like, oh, my God, that poor dog. It's pouring out. It must be cold. Like, I'm going to pull over. My husband's going to kill me for bringing home another dog, but whatever. So as I'm pulling over, and I pull off into the emergency lane, and as I'm getting closer to it, I'm like, oh, shit, that's not a dog. That's a coyote back up. So I called up my husband, and I'm like, babe, guess what? And he's like, you're bringing home another dog, aren't you? And I'm like, no, but I almost brought home a little coyote. And he was like, sweet mother of pearl, girl, stop, So that's somebody sees a dog on the side of the road. They're like, hey, what's up? There's your coyote.
And it was a little coyote pup or cub or whatever they call it?
Well, yeah, if it would have been a pup, I'm crazy enough I would have brought it home.
I would have done it too.
I think it's any animal. If you get it as a baby, you can help it, you can domesticate it and train it or whatever. Had it been a pup, I probably would have brought it home. I would say, and I don't know how big coyotes in Mississippi get, so.
Not very big.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it was probably big enough for me to be like, yeah, it's probably not a good idea to take this thing and drive 2.5 hours home, because I may not have made it home.
Yeah, it might have attacked you.
Yeah.
It's like feral or got rabies or something. That's why it seemed, kind of different than a coyote would naturally act. Put it in your car and then a few miles down the road. But I'm like that too. Like my friend, her dad found a little thing of baby skunks, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go get them de-skunked, and they're just like house cats. And I'm like, man, I want one. Like any little critter that needs love, I will help it. I'm a glutton.
Yeah, everybody on this team, we are big suckers for animals.
Yeah, we started off with 3 dogs and 2 cats, and ended up with 2 cats and 3 kittens and 3 dogs and 9 puppies. Holy shnikes. But
wow.
Yeah, I was about to get my dog fixed, and yeah, my daughter's dog and my dog got connected, and yeah, now I have to wait. But it's on the agenda. Luckily, even though supposedly dogs do carry the COVID virus, luckily they're able to get in and get fixed more quickly than us humans seem to be able to. There's so many people I know out there that need surgery right now, like dire surgery, and they're like, nope, you're going to have to wait for another month. Are you serious? Come on. It's insane. Never thought we'd be in these times. So you as a psychic, Shannon, did you pick up on this? I know a lot of us were like, something big's about to happen. I'm not sure quite what it is, but something big is coming. And then all of a sudden, all these different things hit, and you're like, now I see.
Yeah, I mean, it was never, hey, guess what's going to happen in 2020? But it was, little things like started last year in New York City, California. I'm trying to think of all the stuff we got. What was the other big word we got?
Pandemic.
Pandemic.
I think it was pandemic.
Yeah. Pandemic. So we started putting the pieces together that something was coming, and it wasn't going to be pretty. But like you said, a lot of us were getting stuck. There were warnings out there. We just weren't getting the whole story.
Yeah, it was like right beyond that line. Like, we know there's something there. We just can't see what it is. Okay, door number 1, door number 2, or door number 3.
Exactly. And unfortunately, I don't think we're anywhere near finished.
No. It's just the crust on the cake.
Yep.
Going beyond all the negativity happening in our world right now, I love the paranormal as somewhat of a distraction. I want to get back out there and do it. I'm so glad you guys are. Can you tell us about another one of your recent cases that you'd been working on? And if it's a private case, can you tell us details without saying names?
Yeah, tell about today.
Talk about today?
Yeah. Our client this morning or afternoon.
Yeah, we had a private client today that had reached out and had asked for a team that could do crossovers and was looking for a medium. And another one of the teams in the area had tagged us on the post. So Lissette reached out to her, and thank goodness it was actually a quick investigation and a very lighthearted investigation. Walked away today with a lot of happy tears and a lot of hugs. The location basically had her sister that had passed and her grandmother that had passed were there. Sister was kind of her mini-me and just a ball of energy and just, I mean, this girl, when I walked in the door, this little kid took my hand and walked me through the entire walkthrough. And I mean, she made it quick because she was going. And, took me to where the grandmother was and, showed me some other things that we discussed. But there was also some poltergeist activity in the house. But it wasn't anything that had compounded big enough to where it was not, we could easily get rid of it. It was just to the point to where it was moving objects and popping light bulbs. So it was kind of, it was, let's get in here, let's take care of the negatives so the bright light in here can shine. And it was amazing how quickly, when we went in there and did the blessing and cleanse and told that energy to leave, that it had no purpose, how fast the air in that place got light. And it was filled with just such a good-hearted aura about it. It was beautiful. It was really beautiful.
It's probably one of the easiest private residences we've ever done. Like, this was the first time, I think, that we've ever had a one and done.
Yeah.
Isn't it awesome when that happens? Sometimes it's really hard.
I'm like, oh my goodness, this was like the ideal case. Because generally when you are dealing with a private residence, there's many factors going on that, require multiple visits. Prime example on how we ended up connecting with Lindie and John, it was a private residence that they had been working on and had been to this house numerous times and had done everything that they had in their weaponry tools to figure out how to deal with what was going on. And so I think one of the reasons why we fell in love with him and them so quickly is because they were so genuine right off the bat. They made no bones about admitting that, hey, we've been dealing this for a while. We've done everything we know how to do. We need help because we don't know what else to do. And you had mentioned that, you know, like most teams won't do that. And their humility and their desire to want to help their client was part of the reason why I was like, man, these two would be awesome. You know, they just have such great energy about them. And the fact that the first time we were around each other and investigated together was like we had been doing it forever. So,
oh, my God, you
yeah.
just made me cry.
Aww. Here's a tissue, John. Wipe away your tears. Or make some tear beer. Or cry pie. Either way, I'm good. It is awesome when that happens, though. Like, my group first started as me, Kat, Rhonda, and Glow. And, you know, Kat ended up getting cancer and passing away. She was my mentor. She was teaching me about crystals and so many other things. Rhonda moved away, Glow moved away, and then back. And she's been very distant since Kat's been gone. But we were doing the world's largest ghost hunt thing. And I think it was the first year, and I was all by myself, and there was different people, hey, I want to go. And so they came, and it was just like you said, like we had just did this yesterday. We know each other. It was automatically like your extended paranormal family. It was just so awesome to have them. And from there on out, we've been together. It's so awesome how we do cross paths. And I believe we do that repeatedly. It's like a circle, a cycle. Each life we somehow meet each other and get to help others on this side, like I said, and the other.
Most definitely. I agree with that 100%. You know, we talk about it all, you know, we talk about a lot about how it's just the way everything, it was divine intervention. Like there's no other way to, you know, describe it. We were meant to cross paths and be where we're at now.
So as far as your core group goes, because we have core members and then we have members that are like, I'm just here for the ghost hunt, which I totally understand. But our core group, we get together monthly. We did before this whole COVID thing happened. And we'd educate ourselves on ways of protection, different entities, ways of grounding, so on and so forth. So we can protect ourselves and our clients and those on the other side. Do you guys get together and do those certain things to educate yourself so there's really no question? And do you have others that don't want to come to your classes, but they want to just come for the fun of it?
Shannon is the homework queen, which I love. Because to me, knowledge is power, and there's no such thing as you will never know it all.
Right.
As many investigations as I have under my belt, I learn something new at every investigation that I've done, whether it's because from a personal experience or because we're working with another team and I see how they do things. So we're very big on education. I've taken the demonology courses. Shannon's doing the parapsychology courses. And so Shannon's also a Reiki master. We're very big on maintaining a positive energy within ourselves and our personal lives. There's no room for yuck. There's no room for negativity, because inevitably, if your personal life is in chaos, it's going to bleed into the team. And we don't want that, because that kind of energy and chaos will disrupt our mission of helping spirit and people. So we do a lot of, like, you know, we get homework on energy. Like one of our most recent homeworks, now that we added Lindie and John, one of the first homeworks that they got was their chakras and where each of the chakras are at.
so we each, and I did it with them, even though I've done it before. You go through changes to life, your body, period. So your chakras become unbalanced here and there. So we all did the test, so we can all start again from page 1 with them. And so we all, did the test to see, where each chakra was and what we need to work on. And so Shannon will individualizes the homework based on those results. So we're all going to have different homework to help whatever chakra is, deficient. We do a lot of, Shannon works with us a lot on, maintaining that positive light. We are light workers. But we need to prepare for the dark because one doesn't exist with the other. We put out that white light and that, light energy, but we're also prepared to combat the dark because of how much we build up our white energy. And all our homework has to do with that. We've actually never opened up our assignments or lessons to outside of the team. But maybe that's something we should think about.
Well, we talked about possibly doing the page.
We did. Shannon has talked about, sorry, I talk a lot. My throat gets dry.
No worries.
We talked about having a separate page specifically for that.
Like a community page or something like that? That'd be cool.
Like a community page, each, kind of out in the open publicly for anybody that wants to participate. Just different things, whether it's learning about crystals or learning about different blessings or prayers or, your chakras or,
the archangels,
Yes, archangels.
Like that's my
I love
homework
Michael.
that I've been yeah.
Michael's my fave.
That's one of the things that
meditation.
the other homework that we gave Lindie and John, because I'm big into the angels and calling upon them and asking God to send them to be with us during investigations, and depending on what we're dealing with is who we ask for. And so for me, it was important that they are familiar with who the archangels are. What are they? What is their predominant role? Like, why do you call on Michael instead of Raphael? And, why would you call out on Raphael in this instance instead of Gabriel? So that was part of that has been their homework is I took the, 15 main archangels and I said, okay, here's the 15 that I want you to work on. Split it between the two of you and learn these angels. I want you to tell me, who they are, what colors associated with them, what, who they are, they guide over. Because each archangel has, they kind of watch over, like Michael's a protector for law enforcement. And then, you have Raphael that looks over the sick. So I wanted them to have an idea of, I told them, I was like, there's no time limit on this because I want you to learn each one. I don't want just like, this isn't a school assignment where it's due next week. Take your time.
Work on it.
Learn it.
I kind of got engulfed in it. Once I got started in it, it was like, oh my gosh, like, it was amazing. And Lissette, the mom of the group, was like, you need to put it down tonight and go to bed. I'm like, no, like, this is so interesting.
Right? You've always been called mom, right, Lissette?
Yeah, like, she's sending text messages at 11 o'clock at night. Oh, my gosh, like, hey, what about this? And, and I'm like, why are you doing homework at 11 o'clock at night when you need to get up at 5 to go to work? I'm like, Lindie, put it down, go to work. She goes, yeah, but just one more thing. And I'm like, no, put it down and go to bed. Like, you don't have to get it all done right now. But it is. I mean, I like learning. So when you're excited about something, I'm not bothered by her text messages in any means whatsoever, because to me, that shows that she's genuinely cares about being on our team and doing what we require to be a part of this team.
Yeah, she's very involved. She cares.
Yeah, Shannon assigns homework to the private clients as well.
Yeah, I read that.
they need to deal with in their personal lives before we can come in and get rid of whatever gook is in their house.
Well, it's so
'Cause
true.
if they-
Like, if they can't help themselves, you can't help them. Do this.
Exactly.
Otherwise, what we're trying to
Exactly.
do will not help. You have to help yourself. Well, on that
Completely
note,
agree.
ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go to our second musical break. And on this break, we have Michaela Hay. And you guys, we have 3 new songs from her. She actually graduated this year, and I feel so bad for the students that did because they didn't get to partake in the whole graduation ceremony. And people have done different things to make them, you know, feel better about what they've accomplished. It's so sad what we're going through, but she graduated this year. She's amazing. If you ever want to look her up on YouTube, Michaela Hay, MIKALYNHAY. She's got so many music videos, and she is amazing. So we're going to listen to Gravity, which is a new song for us, Pins and Needles, which is an old favorite, as well as Collapse and Close. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this musical break.
Signs I leave behind for you to Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent, and I'm innocent. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Walked on my share of thin ice with your blowtorch at my feet. You won't ever see me beg, so take this tongue off your leash. I'm gonna say what I wanna say, don't need permission. Interpret it how you want, it's my decision. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. Dancing on shattered glass, kicking the pieces all around. My safety has been broken, this is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna hang it up, hang it up, hang it up. And I'm done, and I'm done, and I'm done, done, done. I'm gonna so surprised I worked out a smile, out a smile, out a smile. 'Cause I've grown and I've changed. Yeah, we went separate ways. How come we're both back here? 'Cause you pushed me away, had my life rearranged, but still we're both back here. Back here. Close to me, I want you close to me. I can see that you wanted me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Trust me, baby, get close to me, close to me. You know how to make me lose all control, all control. I should know when I need to let myself go. So let's go. Close to me, I want you close to me. I can see that you wanted me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Trust me, baby, get close to me. I'm not the same. I'm not the same. I'm not the same person anymore. I'm not the same. I'm not the same. I'm not the same. I want you close to me. I want you close to me. I can see that you wanted me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Trust me, baby, get close to me. I want you close to me. I can see that you wanted me. Follow me, baby, just follow me. Trust me, baby, get close to me.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we have Death Stalkers Paranormal. Oh, I think it's Wings and Roots now. Is that correct?
Roots,
Roots and Wings.
yeah.
Okay, got it. We have Lissette, we have Shannon, we have John, as well as Lindie. You guys, welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out. I know I'm keeping you up, but I'm so grateful you're here.
Thank you for having us.
So, Mooney in the chat was asking, has your group ever had any experience with an angel?
Yes, actually, I just answered Mooney's question in chat. We have. And we get angels come through our sessions a lot. We get Bible verses a lot to read during sessions, depending on what's going on. And we actually had angelic help while we were dealing with some negative stuff at a private client's house.
We can talk about that one.
You want to talk about? You talk about that one. I've been doing all the talking tonight.
I can't because I was in the sensory, so I don't really know the whole.
Well, you can lead up to it before the sensory.
Okay, so
You can do it.
so we have I guess you would say a semi-private client, a house we have been invited to that we go to often. That the guy that owns the property is a haunted collector without really knowing this is a haunted collector. So he's always bringing new stuff in, and then the lady that kind of keeps the house will be in communication with her, and she'll be like, I think y'all need to come out here and kind of cleanse some of these things that he's brought. So we went out there one weekend, and the energy of the entire property had shifted. And it was very dark and very negative. And this place is never like that. This place has always been very refreshing, and it's kind of like going and staying at a B&B. You just, I mean, it's, you know, well-rested, fun, easy investigation. Well, this weekend was completely different. And we had started in some earlier sessions and some sensories and some spirit box. We started getting a lot of angel references, a lot of references to the guy that owned the original owner of the property's last names were Enoch. So we had already started studying some Jewish religion, but we started getting Archangel Michael came through. We got Seraphim, and we got some other references, and now I'm going to turn it over to Lissette.
So at that point, I knew they were there to help us battle with what we were actually battling. And what we were dealing with definitely needed some angelic help for us. And so they kept giving Bible verses. And so I started reading, and again, it was Psalms. Psalms is one of my favorite books of the Bible because there's so much that applies to whatever season in life you're going through. And apparently our angels and our guides like the Psalms as well, because I would say 99.99% of the time when we get Bible verses, it's a book of Psalms. And so we got this particular, for the life of me, can't remember right now which Psalm it was, but I'm reading it, and as I'm reading it, we're getting, keep going, don't stop, it's working, she's leaving. And when I finished reading it, it was read it again, keep reading. So I actually read that particular Psalm twice, and as I was approaching the end of it, the spirits of the house were like, she's gone. Thank you. We're at peace. It was such a profound experience. Shannon was kind of oblivious to all of it because she was under sensory deprivation. But when I pulled her out of it, like, she was crying. She just didn't realize why she was so full of emotion. And so when I told her what was going on my end, we both literally just kind of sat on the floor, hugged, and cried it out. It was truly a profound and emotional experience.
And you guys keep talking about the sensory deprivation, so that's where you have like the earmuffs on where you can't hear anything, or perhaps headphones plugged into something and your eyes are basically behind a bandana or some sort of eye thing where you can't see. So it's basically deterring other senses and helping you to tune into your internal or psychic senses. So what exactly, Shannon, were you picking up on during this time?
Lilith was actually there, and we needed to get her gone. What I was picking up on was the dire urgency that, people don't think houses feel. And for lack of a better way to put it, what this house as a whole was going through, it was a cry for help. And it was angels, and it was my daughter was there, my guides were there, everything was there, because at that moment this house was being attacked by and fortunately she had not.
You said attacked by, and then we couldn't hear anymore. You said attacked by what?
A demon. We were dealing with Lilith.
And Lilith is supposedly the woman that came before Eve, but she was not acceptable.
Right. Well,
I'd be pissed off too.
not that. Yeah, well, okay. So the story of Lilith goes. The Christian Bible starts with the book of Genesis. In the Jewish religion, it starts prior to the book of Genesis. And it's so crazy because Shannon had just gotten the book of Enoch, which is from the Jewish tradition. And while we are Christian, we very much embrace other people's beliefs. And we learn about other religions because in order for us to help a client, we have to understand and respect where they're coming from. If we're working with a private client who's Jewish, well, I can give them Christian prayers all freaking day long, but they're not going to do anything because he's not Christian. Or if we're dealing with a Wiccan client, then we need to know what to prescribe to that client to help them live at peace in their home. So we make it a point to learn different religions. We have friends of different religions that we go to for help and guidance and education. So one of the things that I ask when I'm working, interviewing a private client is, do you have a religious preference? If so, what is it? Because if it's not something that we're familiar with, then I get on the phone and start contacting whoever it is that I contact, depending on the faith, so that we can go in as prepared as possible. And so we had already been delving into the Jewish religion and learning about that and learning, some of the things that aren't covered in the Christian religion. And Lilith is one of them. Lilith, according to the Jewish tradition, was the first, Adam's first wife, for lack of a better term. And if I remember correctly, she wasn't created from his ribs. She was created from the same dirt he was. And so she felt that she should be his equal because they were created from the same thing. And that didn't bode well. And so she ended up getting cast out. And then the Christian Bible starts with the book of Genesis when God created Eve for Adam.
Yeah. I am so intrigued by, the Catholic Church so many times have come through for me as far as St. Michael, so many different saints, and then as far as keeping all of these different scripts and texts and so on and so forth. Supposedly, within the last year, they're going to retranslate the Bible and keep everything in instead of doing the, hey, we're going to take this out, hey, we're going to add this in for the omission of man, like for us to take power. I want to see what the true word is because there's a lot of stuff that speaks to me and there's a lot of stuff that I'm like, I don't really agree with that. Like the rule of thumb. As long as the stick is as wide as your thumb, you can beat your wife with it. Come on. There's a lot of things I'm interested in seeing, but yeah, like you're saying, Genesis and Revelations and these different things, even the Pearl of Great Price and different other texts that are found in different tombs and translated for us to decipher. It's amazing how those do come through and how helpful they are. Sharon in the chat room was saying or asking, do you guys have a code of ethics in your paranormal investigations? Also, how do you deal with potential ethical problems that arise when working with other investigators?
That's kind of tough because what's ethical for us may not be ethical for somebody else.
True.
I think each team has their own code of conduct and set of ethics. Our main thing is we do everything in a positive white light. We don't use anything that most people would consider outside of our belief system. We happen to be a Christian team. So there's certain things that we and certain tools that other teams may use, but we don't. our main thing is always to maintain safety for ourselves, safety for client. If we're working with another team, that team's safety as well. We have yet to come up working with a team that would be unethical, for lack of a better term. We haven't had that experience. We have yet to work with a team where we feel like, okay, what they do isn't right, so we're not going to work with them anymore.
We worked with 14 just.
Prime example, the investigation we did yesterday, there was 4 teams at this location. Several individual investigators, because it was a big hospital. And we broke up into groups, and the groups intermingled, and, one session was done with this group, and then another session was done with another. So we're very big into working with other teams. That's how you grow. That's how you learn. Not every team does everything the same. Are there teams out there that maybe do things that we don't agree with? Probably, and absolutely. So are we going to work with them? Probably not. We're not a team that's going to go in, like, we don't believe in antagonizing spirit.
I was about to get onto that. Like, we don't do no provocations or anything like that.
Be respectful.
If a spirit wants to communicate with you, be respectful to the spirits, and they'll respect you back. There's no sense in trying to provoke something into giving you an answer or anything. That can just turn a situation way worse. So we steer clear of things like that.
Sorry, my dog's barking. But I totally agree. Like, we're all humans, whether we're on this side or the other. Have that respect for the client and the spirits and whatever else is there. Yeah, there can be dark stuff, but if you come at it with a perspective of respect and you're not antagonizing and trying to get some sort of reaction because maybe you're impatient, I'm not sure why people do it, but I don't think it works out for the best.
I completely agree.
I don't know who Mooney is, but he's pretty funny, or she's pretty funny, whoever it is.
He's super funny,
if Erin decided to go biting the heads off of lizards, hey, more power to her. If that floats her boat, I mean, am I going to bite the head off a lizard? No, because I like lizards. We had a bearded dragon. I kind of love lizards, and I'm not going to do that. But hey, if that's what makes her happy, cool. It's something new that I learned.
I don't think she does that. I think Mooney just likes to poke fun, and he's kind of in the gutter a lot of times, which I understand because I was raised there, so I appreciate it. Some people get really offended. I appreciate it. I'm like, thanks, Mooney.
Little comedy improv.
Yes, I like it.
Yeah, he was talking to Brian Riley, which I've been trying to find him on Facebook. I can't find him anywhere. I've looked on all you guys' pages and everywhere, and I'm like, what were you saying?
I can tag him on something for you.
Yeah, we can get it on there for you.
I'll get it right over.
I'm trying to find him because I want to friend him. He seems like a really cool guy. I'm like, where the heck is this elusive guy? But yeah, Mooney, I was like, man, Mooney, I think you scared him off. And he's like, nope, I'm still here. So that's awesome. And I'm so glad you're here tonight, Brian. It's awesome to have new people. And I hope you come back again, as well as you guys with your new group, Wings and Roots.
Most definitely.
And I did like your page, and it's awesome. I love how you're growing and progressing. And as far as people being different, my group is so diverse. Like, we have pagans, we have Catholics, we have Christians. We have so many different people going on, or just spiritualists. It's good to have the different inputs because there's different things that we don't realize that are going on that other people do. So they're like, oh yeah, I know all about that. One case being a fairy case, a fae case. So we had a case where this house is being demolished, like dressers, very heavy wood dressers are being thrown. Things are being written on the ceiling, all kinds of different things happening. And it was fae, and I was like, wow, I've heard of it. I believe anything is possible, but I have no idea how to do this. But there were other people in our team that did. So it's so nice to have the different diversity to learn from each other and to learn, from each other. Anytime anyone says, hey, I'm a paranormal expert, that's a red flag for me. There is no expert in this field.
Absolutely. And diversity is huge. It's so important. I mean, we live in a very diverse world. I'm pretty diverse. I mean, I was raised Catholic, practiced the Wiccan religion for a while, and then went back to Christianity, and not Catholic, just kind of a non-denominational Christian. And I have friends from all walks of life that I can turn to. I mean, I have friends that are pagan. I have Christian friends. I have Jewish friends. I have Muslim friends. So to me, and being a student of life, and I love to learn, and I'm a history buff, I like surrounding myself with people that aren't necessarily just like me, because then my life would be boring. I wouldn't be learning anything new if I surrounded myself with people that were just like me all the time. So I like being around people that are different. I like learning from people that do things differently than I do, because I feel that that's how I grow as a person.
Yeah, case in point, one of the private clients we were supposed to deal with yesterday that unfortunately we were not able to help yet. I reached out to a Wiccan friend of mine that I have because we're dealing with a blood curse. And she jumped right on it and sent us a package in the mail. But not only did she send us the stuff for a blood curse, her family's Catholic, and she sent us holy water from a Texas monastery as well. So, I mean, it's neat to have so much diversity that you can look at one person and get so much from them. I mean, it's what makes us, the world, go round, and I mean, it's what makes Para Unity so important.
It is so important, and it really does blow my mind when there's different teams out there and they're like, yeah, we love you guys, you're great. And then all of a sudden, with a couple people that we know, they turn like a freaking ugly viper and bite your head off and spit all this venom all over the place. And you thought, hey, I thought we were a team and we're working together. Why are you doing this? It's very unprofessional for this group that got really, really big. And my experience with him, I had him on my show, and he did talk to me during the break about these certain things. And I'm telling him, hey, you shouldn't look at it like this. That's not how it is, blah, blah, blah. I think perhaps now he has a different viewpoint of it. But still, that is no way to react when you're supposed to be a professional entity. And a personable entity.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you got to be that, like I said, it's an energy thing. And, I've seen it firsthand. If you're negative all the time and you go into a location and you bring that kind of negativity into a location, the whole air of the investigation just flips. I mean, it's amazing how your own personal energy in a location can change the entire outcome of the investigation. But, I'm just not even going to acknowledge the negativity.
Well, yeah, and it's like, before I knew what exactly was going on behind the scenes, I had this guy on my show. He's building one of those ghost boxes that cast out the thing where you can hear the voices and somewhat of an echo. And he's building one. And I was like, dude, I went to this class because my mentor was like, hey, you should come do this class. It's about crystals and how to open up communication through, I'm sorry, my husband's dog, how you can open up communication through these crystals to the other side. And I found this one with a huge communication window and then so many different surfaces on the side. Each time I counted it, it was more and more and more. But I sent this to him, and then I heard this particular person say, if you're in league with this person at all, I will know and I will unfriend you. But I know in my heart, he knows that I'm a good person and I'm a true person. And I did not know exactly what was going on at that point. But I'm trying to help everybody in this paranormal field, because I think, just like religion, if we can come together and work together, we could get so much further instead of being separate entities and fighting each other.
Absolutely.
Exactly. And we're not going to agree on everything, and it's okay to disagree. It's okay to have a difference of opinion.
Exactly.
It's
like, let's agree to disagree and move on.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all the same. It doesn't matter what higher power you believe in. It doesn't matter what your skin color is. It doesn't matter how you like to dress or what color your hair is. You cut me, I cut you, we're both going to bleed red. That's all that matters. We're all fundamentally brothers and sisters, and should treat each other with respect. My parents were very big on, you treat everyone with the same respect that you would like to get. You treat the janitor the same respect that you give the CEO, because you never know when the tables can be turned and the CEO becomes the janitor and the janitor becomes the CEO. And we've all are raising our kids the same way.
Treat each other as you want to be treated.
Yeah, there is no color in our world. No. There's no separation of, okay, well, they don't practice the same religion we do, so you're not allowed to be friends with them. We don't believe that. I mean, if you come to my house, my bookshelf is full of books from all different religions that I've studied and collected over the years, because one of my passions is learning about religion. I can't communicate with you, or I can't relate with you if I don't know anything about you. So if I meet someone that I connect with and they happen to practice a different religion than I do, I have zero bones about sitting there and be like, hey, do you mind if I ask you some questions? Because I really want to know, like, why do you believe this? How do you do that? Like, educate me, because I refuse to be another ignorant person walking around this world, and I'm not going to raise a future of ignorance.
Amen.
Our kids are open and accepting of everybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what you look like, where you work, what religion you practice. My door is open. If you're hungry, I'm going to feed your ass. Like, that's
right.
Just plain and simple.
And these same people, if they were to call me and need something tomorrow, I would be there. I mean, that's just, we have to be. I mean, especially with what's going on right now.
It feels like the powers that be are trying to tear us apart. They're trying to separate us and segregate us. Oh, you're Republican, you're Democrat. Well, I ain't none of that. Or you're black, you're white, you're Mexican, you're this, you're that. We all bleed red. The only race that is on the earth is the human race. How the fuck do you not understand this? Once we get past this, could you imagine? Like, a lot of people wish for utopia. If we had that and we didn't know the bad, how do you know the good? So there's that, but at the same time, love one another as you would love yourself. Treat each other like you would treat yourself. Give that respect that you want somebody to give you. Don't be an asshole, A lot of people don't get it. And it seems like we've gone 20 years back. It seemed like we got so far ahead, and now we're back 20 or 30 years. Are you fucking serious? Like, come on.
Preach it, sister.
Preach it. It hurts my heart.
It's hard raising children in a world so full of hate.
It is.
John, you were saying something. I'm sorry. I was busy battling.
I was talking to my cat. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were, like, speaking up about something. Hi, Kitty Meow.
It's Gypsy Girl. She's
Aw.
hanging out with us.
She a long-haired calico?
Yeah. Well, she's not like real long hair, but it's longer, I guess.
Yeah. I could see her. She's
She's a
beautiful.
bit of cat hair.
I call my cats
She's a
my
little
producers. I'm like, hey, producer man.
She's
They're
a
so
little
funny.
needy, and then I guess because we were going on investigations last night, she's like, all right, it's my time now.
So, John and Lindie, do you guys have kids, or you got fur babies, or, you know, do you worry about when you're doing investigations, if you do have littles, that you're going to bring something home?
We're very adamant about letting the spirits know whenever we get to a location and before we leave one that, like, you are not to attach yourself to us.
Mm-hmm.
You're absolutely not to come home with us. But yes, we do have 5 children.
Awesome.
And lots of fur babies.
Heck yeah, you gotta have all that love.
Hey, Tessa,
Mm-hmm.
have John tell you about Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ooh, John, tell me about it. Could you? Would you?
Oh, Lord. Okay, so
No.
my stepson, Holden, I had just moved to Mississippi from a little town outside of Austin, Texas. I had just moved to Mississippi, and me and Lindie had just moved into our house together. And we were actually out clearing some trees around our barn. But for the previous about 2 weeks, our son Holden had been just obsessed with Leatherface. I mean, give me your phone, let me watch videos, let me watch documentaries, and just obsessing over the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So we're down there clearing out some trees around the barn and stuff like that so they don't fall on our barn and everything. And he's like, you know, kind of watching videos, halfway helping me, halfway not. And he's like, oh, did you know that they never caught the Texas Chainsaw Massacre? Did you know they never found that guy? Why do you think they never found him?
Oh, no.
And with just the most serious face I could keep on, I looked over at him, said, you know why they never found me? Because I moved to Mississippi, and I fired and took off running at him, and he just fell on the ground and started squalling.
Oh, no.
I get this frantic, like, phone call, like, while I'm at work, and
Oh, no.
my son, he's, like, hyperventilating and, like, can't catch his breath, and he's like, you have to come home now, and, like, just pure panic, and I'm like, what is going on? And I hear John in the background, and he's just, like, dying out laughing, and he gets on the phone and tells me what happened, and, like, here I am, and, like, I'm like, my poor baby, like, he's, like,
Traumatized.
Right. Yes, and I'm like trying, and then I'm like talking to John, and I was like, that was freaking hilarious, like, but that was so wrong. You know?
Yeah, that was fucked up, but that was pretty funny.
yeah, no doubt, right?
Now we gotta go to therapy. Thanks a lot, John.
It was worth it. I'll pay for the therapy session. It was
Right?
worth it.
High five.
And
Oh my goodness.
Not every day you get to traumatize a kid for life, you know.
Mooney was wondering, did you buy or rent the chainsaw?
I own several.
Nice.
We have several.
Oh my goodness, that poor kid.
yeah. Mark my words, that kid is going to put John in the crappiest nursing home available. Mark my words.
You made your bed, now lay in it, John. Lay in it.
Yeah. Sure will.
So I was gonna be like, man, is this about that time with the chainsaw?
Yeah.
Well, it's so funny, like, where the paranormal comes in and all these different urban legends, so on and so forth. Our kids, okay, so we are actually private investigators, security firm, and then I have my paranormal investigation, and we were on an actual investigation. And so my kids are old enough to be home alone, and they're all fine until about 3 or so in the morning. They call, oh my God, there's this figure in the living room that's about 7 foot tall, and it's got a sheet over its head, which I've heard several stories where these things portray themselves as like the Reaper, or a ghost with a sheet over its head or whatever you fear to kind of mess with you. So this guy, and I don't know if it was John or somebody else, but he's wearing a sheet. My daughter goes to the bathroom. She comes back to go to sleep on the couch, and she sees this tall figure. And so she's freaking out. She goes into the room. I think she threw up first because she gets anxiety really bad. She threw up, went into the room. She's like, sister, there's something in the living room and it's under a sheet and blah, blah, blah. And so Kinsey won't look out there, but she's got her friend Misty over, and her friend Misty peeks out the doorway and she sees it under the sheet kind of moving its head back and forth. And she freaks out and she's like, oh my God, Kenzie, it's real. It's there. And my dog Gilly at the time, she lived to be 19 years old. She was under my bed. She never went under my bed, but she was hiding under my bed, whimpering. That was Nova's first sign. She's like, come on, Gilly, come out. It's okay. And then she saw this figure, but they called us, and then we called our shade tree mechanic Dennis, and he comes over, looks around the house, and is like, oh, I think it was just this rug propped up, which is only 5 foot tall, not 7 foot. So they're like, no, that wasn't it. But it's amazing how these different things that come around do mess with your kids, or we do. After that happened, so the kids go to school, and we're like, yeah, that was pretty messed up talking about, and we should really mess with the kids when they get home. So Vern's hiding under a sheet in the hallway, and I'm over in the kitchen, and I grab a sheet too, and which probably ruined it. But I'm under a sheet, he's under a sheet, the kids come through. Nova comes through the doorway, and she sees it, and she screams. She's like, wah! And then she crouches down, and she takes off her backpack, and she flings it as hard as she can at Vern, and it hurt. It hurt him, but that's what he gets. But yeah, she's like, throws the book pack at him, and then it's all over, and they're like, man, that was so messed up. I can't believe you did that. But it's kind of a part of the field. You kind of got to make fun of it to make it not so serious. And I've talked to him several times, like, you're going to be a ghost someday too. How would you feel if you're trying to talk to somebody and they fear you, or you're trying to, show yourself and they're afraid? Wouldn't you want somebody to talk to you? It's kind of hard to get through to kids because there is so much fear in the world, but it is funny at the same time. You got to make fun of it.
Yeah.
Poor kids. We're terrible parents. I'm just kidding. We're making them stronger.
We're building character.
That's right. So we got T-minus 5 minutes and counting. Is there anything else that you guys haven't talked about tonight that you would like to share with our listeners?
Your questions have been great.
Thanks.
And the time flew by. I'm not even going to lie. After such a busy weekend, I'm like, oh my God, Shannon, I'm going to fall asleep and be snoring on poor Tessa. But it's been great being on the show. We love you. We love your energy. And so we appreciate you having us on the show. I don't know if anybody that's listening or, has any questions. I mean, we're pretty much an open book. We'll answer almost anything. But yeah, let me just say almost anything because I'm afraid of what he might come up with. So I'm just going to preface and say I will answer almost anything.
My daughter, my 16-year-old, it was like anything within reason.
Yeah, you may not like the answer you get, or you're going to be like, oh my God, this bitch is crazy, but I will pretty much answer anything.
Well, I love you guys too, and I'm so glad, Shannon, that you reached out to me again and was like, hey, you want us back on your show? Hell yeah, I want you back. Like, it's been so hard with the homeschooling and all this other COVID stuff going on, trying to keep on top of booking shows. And so it was such an amazing show to have and such amazing light and energy to have on the show. And I'm so grateful you guys were here. I really love and appreciate you guys. And I really do commend you for what you're doing for everyone out there on this side and the other. You guys are amazing. I saw a certain person, I think it was David Childers, and I actually tried to have him on my show for some reason. I think it was due to the floods in Mississippi at the time. He couldn't come on.
Okay.
And then I've been trying to get him back on, and he just won't respond to me. But I'm like, man, I want this dude on my show. But he was doing a shout out for you guys, and he's like, hell yeah, you guys got to you got to follow this group because, like he said, you guys are amazing. I love you guys.
Oh,
thank you. If you want, I'll talk to David.
Would you please? Because, man, I've been trying to have him on there, and yeah, he's awesome. I just want him on here. I love his energy. I love his experience, and I want to share that with the world. And I love to hear everybody's stories.
Really,
makes me feel less
cool
freaky.
Guy. Yeah, when we first got to meet him, he was really cool. And we just have this great mutual respect for each other. So, yeah, I will definitely bend his ear and be like, dude, you need to freaking call this girl back and set something up. He's super busy. I will say that. He is super busy. We're actually going to be doing another investigation with him. It's actually an event in August.
Yeah, August 8th.
Yes, August 8th. He's doing an event on the coast of Mississippi here.
Terror on the Coast.
It's called Terror on the Coast. And so he invited us to participate in that with him. So we're really looking forward to that as well. He's cool people to work with.
He really is, and I haven't met him or talked to him yet, but I can get that energy off of him. And he was telling me about it. He's like, man, it's been flooding so hard here, and we're trying to get these crops out, so on and so forth. And when I drove through Mississippi to get to New Orleans, it was indeed flooded. And I'm like, this poor guy, I could not imagine even doing all this work he's talking about. But I was like, I understand. I want you back. So, yeah, if you could bend his ear, that'd be awesome. I would love that. Because I really do look up to him and want to share his stories.
Cool.
Yeah, we've got some pretty amazing people there in the South.
And you guys got so big so fast. It's just been amazing. You guys are amazing, and everybody picks up on that. I think they're, like I said, the people that are woke or awake or whatnot, that know the truth and know what's good and know what's not, are picking up on you guys, and they're just like propelling you. So I know you guys have a really awesome future going on, and I'm so excited for you guys and your new team. Even though my husband liked your old name better, but you know, sometimes you gotta turn the leaf over and call it something else.
We do, and
It's just part of growth, and life is ever changing.
It is.
And you have to evolve. You can't stay stuck in one spot. So, who knows? Maybe one day, we'll change our name again. I don't know.
Well,
Girl,
that is
dealing with
true.
cannabis.
The only thing that stays the same is change.
Exactly.
Well, I want to... Go ahead.
Yeah. It's kind of surreal how we went from just, like this group of friends that had this mutual interest to, all the experiences that we've been having and, working with other well-known teams in the area. It's humbling. It's an honor. It really is. I sometimes I sit back and I'm like, man, like, where did that come from? But I firmly believe that how you live your life is what comes back to you.
That's right.
And so I feel that because we try to do the best we can, we don't try to be anything than what we're not. We're a tribe of goofy ass people.
Yep.
That
Hell yeah, embrace it.
Yeah, like we love talking to the dead. We like helping the dead, and that's just who we are.
I'm weird, and I worked long and hard to be that way, so you guys better appreciate. But thank you so much again, the Stalkers Paranormal, Wings and Roots, for being with us tonight. I really did enjoy my time with you.
I love you.
We enjoyed
Tessa. Thank
it
you.
too.
Thank you.
And I'm so sorry again
Thank
for
you.
keeping you up all night. But thank you again. And I just want to tell you guys, don't forget, we are all in this together. Together, we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. If you want to join us on the Skype after party, look me up at tessa.n.thomas30 or call me at 970-335-9596. Until next time, night and night, love and light, and take care of my yous.